Welcome to IELTS vocabulary preparation. This is for C1 vocabulary. When we're in the topic of education, there are certain words that can really help you to become literate. And so we're going to talk about one of those words today in depth. So let's really acquire and own this noun. The noun is literacy, spelled L-I-T. Go ahead and write it down, please. Literacy, literacy. It's a noun. That's the part of speech. And here's the pronunciation. The IPA pronunciation is literacy. Literacy. A phonetic, we might say literacy if we're saying it more slowly. Literacy or literacy. And it's defined as a skill or knowledge in a particular area. It's often most used in reading and writing, but we can also refer to it with any skill, technological literacy, for example, computer literacy. You can be literate in a major at university, right? Literate in biology. Okay, so literacy applies to any particular area. And this is how we define it. This is the dictionary definition or the denotation. For connotation, that's the way the word feels. It's a neutral word. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's neutral, although the antonym can be quite negative. Okay, so the antonym is quite a negative word. But I would say the connotation for literacy is neutral or positive. Okay, collocations. So these are phrases that you often find with the word literacy. Adjectives that you find with literacy could be basic or technological. So basic literacy, technological literacy, mass literacy, computer literacy. These are different adjectives that often go with the word literacy. Verbs that go with the word literacy could be acquire. You can acquire literacy or promote literacy. Okay. And you can use other nouns with this noun. So you can say a literacy campaign or a literacy program. If you're doing British English, program would be MME. This is North American English, US English. All right, so the history of the word or the word origin is from Latin, literatus, which means to be educated in the letters. You could spell literatus with a double T, Litteratus. It came into English, well, literate, the word literate, came into English about the 15th century, and literacy as a noun became in common usage around the 17th century. Okay, synonyms for literacy are erudition, learnedness, and intellectuality. So learned, Learned, as one syllable, learned. That is the past tense of the infinitive to learn. But learned, with two syllables, learned is an adjective, a quality of a person. He's a learned professor. She's a learned doctor. Okay, so learnedness means the quality of being a learned person, an intellectual person. So it's not learnedness, it's learnedness. And these words have a little bit more of a connotation of high society. I guess literacy has a more neutral connotation. It could be applied more to the masses, right? Mass literacy, computer literacy. Whereas erudition, learnedness, and intellectuality have a connotation of not necessarily snobbery, but elitism, a higher society. Okay. Likewise, the antonyms are negatively connotated, whereas literacy is more neutral. The antonyms for literacy are more negatively connotated. So an illiterate degenerate, right? An illiterate adult is not something you want to be. You want to be able to read and write. Um, and usually illiterate refers to either you don't have basic literacy, so you cannot read, you cannot write, or you don't read much. You don't read literature, for example, or you're only watching YouTube videos and you're not, and the YouTube videos you watch are all buffoonery, right? Pranks and skits. That would be something an illiterate person does. Although I think the literate do it as well, but if you only watch YouTube pranks, then you might be considered illiterate. And ignorance, likewise, usually has a negative connotation when it is an antonym to literacy. It means that you have not educated yourself. You're one of the unwashed masses, perhaps. Maybe your life is brutish and short because of your ignorance, right? So we don't want to display ignorance. We would rather display learnedness if we can't access erudition. Okay, and then unenlightenment obviously refers to the Enlightenment era when in Western Europe people wanted to have more of a scientific view of the world rather than a superstitious view of the world. So if you are unenlightened, then you might be superstitious or you might not be literate in the sciences. Okay, and some related words are numeracy. So when you see literacy and numeracy, it's often talking about children's education. In grammar school, literacy and numeracy are the high focus. Literature is another related word. So literacy can mean that you have consumed a lot of literature, specifically the classics. And orthography has to do with writing. So the way words are formed and put together. Literacy, if you're a literacy teacher, you're probably teaching people how to write and form letters, like handwriting and cursive, for example. Okay, so that's the word literacy, and these are all the ways in which you can use them in an academic context at a C1 level, so that you can get an IELTS band 8, 6, 7, 8, so 7, 8. And you can also use this word obviously for a band 9, but you would also want to maybe include higher words than literacy if you're going to get a band 9, for example, erudition, learnedness, intellectuality, illiterate, ignorance, unenlightenment, numeracy, literature, orthography. And then another thing you can do to enhance this from C1 to C2 is to use those collocations. So basic literacy, technological literacy, you would want to acquire literacy or promote literacy, or maybe you want to do so through a literacy campaign or a literacy program. So please go ahead and write down this mind map with all of the different components of the vocabulary word so that you can own it. And I'd like you to comment below with one sentence using the word literacy. So comment below one sentence using the word literacy. Can't wait to see it.